The officer's name was J.P. Gibson. Have you ever run into him before?
Never seen him before in my life.
Okay. Have you ever had any problems with Cobb County Police Department previously?
No. No, sir.
Okay. All right. So he orders you out of the car, and tell me what happened next.
He tells me to come back to his squad car, and he's like, well, I want to administer some roadside sobriety tests. And I'm like, is that really necessary? He's like, yes. So I'm like, okay, go ahead, whatever. So he holds a pen in my face, and he's like, I want you to follow the pen with your eyes and do not move your head. Just follow the pen. So he does that. That process takes all of like a minute and 30 seconds. I follow the pen. No problem. Don't move my head. Then he's like, okay, well, I want you to step to the side of the road, and I want you to walk a straight line, your arms held out, one foot in front of the other, back and forth. So I walk about 10 steps forward, then I turn around and walk 10 steps back. Same thing. No problem. Done. Then he's like, well, I want you to stand on one leg and hold your foot out in front of you until I say so. And at this point, I'm like, well, I can't stand on my left leg too long because I've been at work all day and I have flat feet. So my ankle was hurting a little bit. So he was like, well, just stand as long as you can. So I do that. No problems. I probably swayed a little bit because my ankle was hurting. But I still did what he asked me to do. And then I switched legs and no problem, no swaying, anything. And at this point, he looks at the officer who is behind him, and then he's like, well, would you be willing to take another breathalyzer test? I'm like, is that really necessary? He's like, yes.
What was the did he actually tell you what the reading was on the first test?
No, he didn't. He never gave me any information about what the readings were.
Okay.
He just said, what did he say? He said, I need you to take another breathalyzer test back at the station. If you refuse to take this test, you could possibly lose your license. And he went through this whole spiel about if I didn't want to comply with this, there are all these consequences that I could end up having to deal with. So I'm like, okay. And at this point, he told me to turn around, and he proceeded to arrest me. And I'm like, what? Are you arresting me? He's like, yes, I'm arresting you. I'm like, on what grounds? He was like, I believe you're under the influence of alcohol. So I'm like, seriously? I complied with all your tests. I did your breathalyzer, and then you asked me if I would take a second breathalyzer, and now you're arresting me? He was like, yes. So he puts the handcuffs on me, and he puts me in the back of the squad car. No Miranda rights read. He didn't pat me down, anything of that nature. He just put cuffs on me and put me in the back of the car. At this point, he's walked up to the vehicle, and he's talking to my girlfriend. They administered a breathalyzer to her to see if she had been drinking. She passed. She wasn't drinking. So, let's see. She asked them where they were taking me, and they told them the Cobb detention center, the adult detention center. So he puts me in the squad car, and they pull off. At this point, we're going through the intersection, and he's like, I don't know why he accelerated so fast. He was like sped off, and he went through like 2 intersections really fast. And then at this point, I'm noticing he's like on the computer typing some stuff in, not really watching the road, but he's still going very fast. He's probably doing about 65, 70 miles per hour, and this was 55. So I think the precinct was possibly like 4 or 5 blocks away. So we get to the precinct. He takes me out of the car, go inside. He sits me down at a desk, and he brings another officer over who is going to administer another breathalyzer, which is some type of 2-part breathalyzer, I guess. At least that's what he said. Something about it's a 2-part breathalyzer. So I blow one time, and then the second time I have to wait for the results on the first one, and then I blow again, and those are compiled to show that whatever the are you refusing to take the breathalyzer? In sort of an adamant tone, like he was excited to the fact that I possibly could be denying him the chance to administer the second breathalyzer. And I'm like, no, sir, I'm not. I'm just asking questions because I would like to know what purpose would it serve for me to take another breathalyzer if I'm already being placed under arrest if you assume that I'm under the influence of alcohol. At this point, I finished the breathalyzer. I was placed into a holding cell. I still hadn't been read my rights. I still hadn't been patted down. I'm like, I still have all my personal information and everything on me. He only had my my identification. At this point, the lieutenant comes in. He's an older officer. He's a black man, and he comes back and he looks at me while I'm in the cell, and I can hear him in the hallway telling Officer Morgan asking him what purpose why am I here? He's like, did he light up red or something? Is he under the influence? And he's like, you have no purpose of having him in this cell. You know, he's like, you didn't read him his rights, you didn't pat him down, you didn't follow the proper procedures. And I can just overhear him berating him in the hallway.
Hold it. The lieutenant comes in and starts chewing Officer Gibson out in the hallway.
Yeah, I could hear him reprimanding him in the hallway.
Like, and he was making specific comments about the arrest and the reasoning for having you there.
Yes.
Okay, give me as much of that as you can. Was this something that Gibson initiated, or did the lieutenant just come over to him and say what the story is, and did he listen to Gibson? And if you could tell me, what did Gibson say the reason was for having you there?
Okay, well, I'm in the holding cell, and there's like a small desk outside the holding cell. I can look out and I can see it. It's like to the far left. The lieutenant comes in. He checks like this clipboard that Officer Gibson has written on, and then he looks at me and he's like, "Well, they have the cuffs on me." And I asked Officer Gibson if he could remove the cuffs since I'm already in the cell, and he's like, "No." Then the lieutenant comes back in and he's like, "Step toward the bars, and I'll remove the cuffs." I turn around, he removes the cuffs, and then he steps out into the hallway with Officer Gibson. I'm sitting down. He's like, "Why did you check his personal effects? Did you pat him down?" And Officer Gibson is like, "No." And I can hear him asking him, what purpose did you have for bringing him in? He's like, "Well, he blew red on the roadside test," which I really don't believe. And so the lieutenant, he comes back and he's like, "Do you have a phone on you? Do you need to?"
Sir?